So it's the Berlin Marathon this morning. Elite women's results are just in. Guess what the finishing time was?
Okay, so I know that like a really elite split is like 2 minutes something. I can't remember that movie.
I'll give you a clue.
Yeah.
It's not close to world record pace if you know world record time if you know what that is, but it's like probably top 10 all time fastest time.
Like 2 hours 40.
Yeah.
No.
I was going to say.
Nah, it's way lower.
No.
Yeah. So
I thought 2:05.
2:05. I can't remember what the exact world record, but it's around 2:05, 2:06.
Okay, so she's like 2:15.
Yeah.
No.
2:16:42.
So what's her splits on that?
So these are the splits. So yeah, again, have another guess. Guess what her first 5K was.
It's going to be fast, isn't it? So it's going to be
12 minutes. Did you not do the Mo Farah?
World record pace.
It's going to be
15.
18.
Yeah.
18.
16. So 16:06 for 5K.
And that's just warming up. Do you know what I mean? That's getting into the groove.
That's the first 5K, and she's got like 40 odd to run. So 5K was 16:06, 10K was 32:14. So she's practically done another 16 minute.
Shut the front
She's done back-to-back
door.
16-minute 5Ks.
Where's she from?
She is. I'm looking at the flag now.
Oh, how good are your flags?
Testing my knowledge. I think she's Ethiopian. Yeah, she's Ethiopian.
Fucking
And then finish time 2 hours 16:42, which is just fucking ridiculous.
I mean, it's humbling, isn't it?
Oh, we've got the men's in. This is hot off the press.
Okay, come on.
So, Ethiopia have won the men's as well.
Yep.
Fucking hell.
So
fire.
she did
Oh, wow.
2:20.
This time here is easily top 5 of all time. So it's a super fast time. So if the world, I think, what's the world record? Like 2 hours and 40 seconds or something?
I was going to say 2.
Don't quote me on that.
I was going to say 2 hours, 5 minutes.
Lower.
No!
Yeah, 2:03:17.
So the women's and men's is pretty close.
Yeah, there's like 12 minutes in it.
But I read something about women are better endurance athletes than men.
Well, thanks for noticing.
So 5K splits, this is just fucking ridiculous.
So he's done like 14 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
14:25, and then listen to this, 10K split, 28:42. So this is at the start of a marathon. His halfway point for a half mara was 1 hour and 57 minutes.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And then he finished in 2:03:17.
What's mad about that is like
absurd.
when you see them running as well, they don't even look like they're gassed.
Yeah. So it's cadence and efficiency and just go. Hi everyone, welcome to the Perk and Pace podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Lydia.
Should we take a sip?
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay.
Talk to me.
Right, okay, so coffee today. Oh, it smells. Smell that.
I love how I'm smelling it like I know I'm
No, but
doing.
smell it. Does that smell like coffee to you?
No.
What does it smell like?
It smells...
I think that smells like a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah, it smells very
Yeah, I was getting that.
floral. It smells fruity as well.
Getting passion fruit.
Yeah.
This is my favourite kind of coffee because I love coffee that doesn't taste like coffee, that kind of like pushes the boundaries a little bit. Because that to me is like, it tastes like peach iced tea, but hot.
Yes.
You getting that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like super drinkable.
Wow.
But there's something interesting about this coffee. There's something a bit different about this coffee. And, well, first of all, it's from a roaster called Formative, who are based in London. And it's from Colombia, and it's a Gesha varietal. I can tell you what that means in a minute if you don't know. But if I were to tell you that a normal kilogram of coffee to a consumer could cost anywhere between like £20 a kilogram to like £50 a kilogram if you're willing to splurge a little bit, where do you think that lies?
This tastes expensive for me.
Okay.
So I'm going to say 60. 60 quid.
Higher.
It's higher.
Higher.
Oh my God. 90?
Ian, guesses?
Well, I know the answer to this because we had this discussion. When Lydia brought it home, she ran in and she was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Guess how much this is? So we've had that conversation.
Supreme.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. This coffee, if you wanted to buy a kilogram of it, would cost you £180.
It's not
That's a return flight to Barca, that.
It's not the weekly drink, is it?
£180
Wow.
of coffee. And like, I was just sent... So
And that's for the consumer.
That's for the
not
consumer.
retail.
That's not no. Wholesale was a little bit more affordable. But yeah, this is from Formative. They've called it Yuzu, and it's a Gesha. which like varietals of coffee, like wine, if you don't know, there's different grapes, there's different beans.
Yeah.
So Gesha is, just think of it as the most exclusive limited edition varietal you could have. It's difficult to grow, like it has to be really, really high up, which makes it difficult to farm. So there's many reasons why it's more expensive, but that is particularly expensive, and I've only got 100 grams of it. They sent me 100 grams of it, but I think that's the best coffee I've drunk in quite some time.
That's so cool, yeah.
So I'm going to sound like an idiot now.
Go on.
We can cut this out, can't we?
No, just fucking keep it.
Isn't yuzu a fruit?
Yes. It is a fruit. And the thing is, I'm not entirely sure why they've called it that, because normally the name of the coffee, generally speaking, is the farm that it comes from. So whether that's the name of the farm, I don't know, because it's not... Oh no, it is down as one of the flavour notes. I take it back. They've said that this tastes like yuzu, jasmine, apricot and green tea.
Yes.
Well, I said peach tea.
Not far off.
A different stone fruit.
Can I ask
guys.
a stupid question?
No, please, no stupid questions.
What's the I say coffee rules around, like, if you were to add milk to this coffee? Is it blasphemy? Is it...
Okay, so in this scenario... So, first of all, I don't care what you do with your coffee.
Okay.
I don't fucking care. Do what you want. Because at the end of the day, we would never sell this in one of our cafes. It's just not practical.
Yeah.
But if we were to sell it and you would end up paying £15 for a cup of coffee, if you then want to arguably not have the best experience with it by putting milk in it, that's your choice. But yes, you're right.
Yeah.
It is quote unquote blasphemy because, I mean, it's so special.
Yeah, it is. And I suppose my next question is, from a business standpoint or a brand standpoint, how do these specialty coffee roasters make their money? Because if the average Joe's not buying it, and it doesn't make commercial sense for some businesses to also buy it to sell it, where do they make their money? Is it coffee geeks, or is it different?
So it's not.
Roasters?
These guys sell. I say normal coffee.
Yeah.
The coffee they sell is great.
It is incredible.
It's great. They sell a broad spectrum. So we, at the moment, the reason I'm in contact with these guys is they are stocking one of the coffees in one of our cafes at the moment.
Amazing.
And we're not paying £180 a kilogram for it.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah.
So this is just a really, really super limited run that they're doing. Nice. They have the whole story on their website of like why and like the process that they've gone through. Mm-hmm. So I think there are people that will buy it in these small quantities. There'll be those real like coffee nerds. And there are some coffee brew bars that will put it on their menu.
Yep.
We're just not one of them.
Yeah, got it. Cool. So talking about coffee.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about your experience as a business owner and our love for coffee, what that looks like, where we see, I guess, the hospitality industry going, and just a little bit about your journey, really, from, I guess, why you got into hospitality in the first place, what that looks like running a business, or say 2 businesses in terms of multi-site location, 3.
Come on, Matt.
And also your journey into, I guess, managing your own lifestyle and also your sort of health and fitness goals, racing goals. I know we're going to come on to that because you've got one coming up soon. So my first question is, what ultimately inspired you to get into hospitality or specifically like opening up a coffee shop?
I think like many people who are in hospitality, you kind of fall into it.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I was a musician, I was in a band, and that's what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. So because, surprise, surprise, that didn't pay any money, you end up in shift work because you can fit it around your lifestyle. So, you have a lot of creative people, you have a lot of people in the hospitality industry who do something else for that reason, which is one of my favourite things about the industry, by the way. Yeah. So I'd just done it my whole life. I started working when I was 13 on like something like £3.12 an hour.
Yeah.
Felt like I was balling.
Yeah.
And it's always just been there in the background. And I have tried other things.
Yeah.
I did do a year in like a real corporate role. And coming out of that, because I hated it, it did not suit me. It was horrific. Coming out of that, I just went back into hospitality because I needed to pay the bills. I then ended up working in coffee. And it was then when I had this moment where I was like, I'm built for this. Okay. I am built for this. Yeah. Like, I'm very good at it. I spent a long time kind of trying not to big myself up too much. But like, I'm the best fucking ops manager I know in a hospitality environment. You want someone to lead the team, get them through tough times, drive sales, make sure quality is high. Like, I'm good at that.
Yeah.
And then I was thriving in this environment working for somebody else, and I just kept having ideas of how I wanted to do it for me. and it just became time to put my money where my mouth was.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's so interesting. It was going to be a question that I was going to ask probably later on, but you just touched upon the fact that you were super young going into or having access to a job.
Yeah.
How important do you think the industry is for young people to, you know, because if you're not saying this is always the case, but it's always like, you know, a very easy access to get into a working environment where you can learn how to speak to people, how to hold eye contact, how to deal with different tasks and things like that. And for, you know, for kids who aren't necessarily, you know, not that you have to be academic, but not academic, and they just want to get into an environment where they can grow and learn.
Soft skills.
Yeah. How important is that? What's been your experience with?
Super important.
Yeah,
Super important. I think it's one of, now as a woman in my 30s, I think it's one of my biggest responsibilities is nurturing the next generation, giving people their first jobs and teaching them these skills. Yeah. I also value work experience over education every day of the week, because, I mean, I understand there are some roles where, you know, you wouldn't want an open heart surgery
of course,
from someone who had experience in a coffee shop, but I just think it's so much more relevant. Character building, and also we want to talk about like managing stress and managing those feelings of overwhelm, if that's the right word, that a lot of people struggle with. Having an environment that has so many different stimulants all the time, lots of different things going on, learning to prioritize, learning to work as a team with different types of people. There are so many skills there that
I love that.
Like I said, I was doing it from the age of 13. I'm not saying you have to start that young, but we are hiring people 16, 17 years old who don't have experience, and yeah, it's super important.
Yeah, I love that. What, backtracking a little bit, so you've obviously got the 3 locations. What was your biggest challenge in going from 1 to 2, 2 to 3? What does, you know, that look like in terms of scaling?
So 1 to 2 was really humbling because I mentioned that I was like a shit hot ops manager.
Yeah.
So I was all about processes. I was all about trusting the team, training the team. So I really felt like I was ready. I really felt like sick. That business is running itself.
Nailed it.
Nailed it, absolutely. And then actually opening Saint Kitchen in Birmingham was humbling because, well, many reasons. We went into it and I was the most stressed out I've ever been in my whole life for financial reasons and stuff like that. But also there was stuff kicking off at the other cafe, and who I still am as a person is I'm a problem solver, and I take the responsibility to solve other people's problems. And actually looking back, the team probably could have just done with me being an ear and just coaching them a bit more rather than actually going and fixing the problem.
Yeah.
So that first initial thing was I was literally trying to be everywhere still. No matter how much I thought I wasn't, I definitely was.
Yeah.
And also we opened in November 2019, and I don't know if you remember what happened in like February 2020, but like, so that was a wild time. And then going from 2 to 3, to be honest, at that point, from an operational point of view, I can say we nailed it better. We nailed it a lot better. We learnt a lot of lessons. But what happened in opening the 3rd one, that was when we had officially left the EU. It was all of the cost of living crisis kicked in. You know, we were in a recession because of coming out of the pandemic. So actually, from a financial point of view, we were in an absolute hole for a really long time. Like the first year and a half of business, my accountant was saying, you need to close this business.
Oh, God.
And that's not who I am, like, at all.
So what, again, just picking that apart a little bit. So apart from the operational piece, what do you think changed in you, or what did you learn from like a leadership standpoint? The fact that you know you've got to be on your A game. You know that you're responsible now for not just running a business, but running a team that ultimately are your business. What did you learn in terms of going from the 1 to the 2nd one, and, you know, your personal, not attributes, but how did you develop in that leadership sort of piece? Or
well, it's maybe not something I was conscious of at the time, but maybe now looking back, because I had really, really stopped the personal development train. I'm big into personal development. I'm always reading a book. I'm always I work with a business coach now, actually, who's always pushing me.
Amazing.
But at some point, when I first opened the first Warwick Street kitchen, I was like listening to a lot of audiobooks all the time, but I'd stopped that at some point. And then it was only really in the last year that I've kind of picked it back up again. So somewhere in there, I'd maybe got a bit complacent about it. and was really going on my own gut, which has served me well, don't get me wrong, but I would say that I'm taking a big upward trajectory now again from focusing on personal development a lot more. But also having a life outside of the business. Because what happened when we opened Saint Kitchen was I was chronically stressed. Like one of the lowest points I've ever had. There's 2 real low points in running a business. That was one of them for me. And so the turning point, actually, there was a circuit breaker there, and that was lockdown saved my life. Right. I've said that before. Yeah. And you know what? I need to be respectful there because I appreciate that people lost their lives in that scenario. So I do not mean this to offend anybody.
No, of course not.
But that forced break, I know there were other business owners who were like losing their shit, and rightfully so. It was a really stressful time, but forcing me, my phone wasn't pinging constantly all the time because the guys were on furlough, the guys weren't working, they were living the dream. Yeah. The cafes were closed, so forced actual reflection deep time and not having my phone ping all the time, because that was a big one, because I said I was head problem solver. That saved my life. I don't know what would have happened if I'd carried on down that cycle. And then coming out of that, because we couldn't be around each other so much, I wouldn't go to a cafe unless I had to, because we had all of these rules about, even when we were doing takeaway only, I had to trust the team more. I had to. So I would give them the instruction and I would trust them to execute it. And then they did.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's such an important thing when you talk about like letting go, because a lot of people, naturally want to take control, and I run a business and I've got to do this and I've got to do that.
Preach, yeah.
So again, how did you find that experience? Like, was it quite easy? Did you have to lean into it? Was it quite triggering, or was it a case of I trust myself and my gut and what's happening, and I can give that autonomy to others to almost let go and allow you to helicopter view over the business and say, this is what we need to do to get out of this, or this is what we need to do to move forward?
I think I probably went too far the other way at first, actually, because then when we came out of lockdown and we were opening up again, I maybe made some mistakes with management team members and maybe trusted them a bit too much and didn't get involved fast enough in some things. Yeah. But as with many things in life, you go too far one way, and that's part of the learning process, right? Yeah. It doesn't come naturally to me. It doesn't. Like, still now, so something I do a lot now, and this is one of the main I guess safety nets I have in place, is I journal a lot. At the end of every day, I'm writing everything down. Amazing. Like, it's just chatter of shit that's happened. But one of the things that helps coach me through is that default, I need to fix this, default, I need to get involved, because I'm still fighting that every day.
Yeah, you almost don't want to be like a absentee landlord as well. Like, it's that fine balance of getting involved. Talk to me about the importance of, again, it sounds obvious, but just good customer service, and also holding your own standards for dealing with difficult customers. That everyone talks about, the customer's always right and that sort of thing. And you can, this goes across like multiple industries, right? Whether you're coaching somebody, whether
we all
you're
work
running,
in customer service.
100%. Yeah. We're all in it, right? So talk to me about, I guess, your journey through that, because you're at the coalface, right? You're exchanging a service that is very personal in terms of food, culture, lifestyle. What's been your experience with that over the years?
I think it's something that's always come quite naturally to me.
You're a people person, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean, like, I'm not servicing some people are way better at it than I am. Like, I'll put it out there. But I mean, like, I've always been quite good at reading the customer quite quickly and understanding what they want, because some people just want the short, snappy service. Good customer service means different things to different people. But the big one for me, and what I think good customer service is actually communication. I don't think it's sucking up to people. I don't think it's, oh my God, hey, have a great day. Yeah. I think it's, if there's a wait on food, it's telling them. It's like, if I can't do this thing that you want me to do, it's explaining why. And people appreciate information. So that's my experience of that, and that's what I always try and teach the guys a lot of, is communicate. Tell your customer what's going on. Yeah. From anything from, okay, thank you, wait to one side, your drink will be just 1 minute. Because how often do you go somewhere and they haven't quite finished the transaction, so you don't really know, am I waiting here? What am I doing? Like, that's a poor customer experience. But all the way through to, if somebody is complaining and kicking off, you might not be the right person to deal with it. You might be the 16-year-old we just talked about that's your first job. 100%. But being like, you know what, this is important. I'm going to go and get someone that can deal with it. People complaining. Something I coach the guys to deal with is it's not personal. Like, it's actually so much more about them than it is about you. Because we
Yeah.
actually last week had somebody standing in someone's face, pointing, saying, "You are fucking disgusting. Like, I can't believe you work here," or something like that. Really personal stuff. And obviously this
Yeah.
girl was mortified, really upset. I wasn't there, I wasn't present.
Yeah, yeah.
My role comes in later when I'm like, this is not about you. It's not. That person's got something going on.
Yeah, it's completely external.
They are completely out of order to be behaving like this. But yeah, my experience of it is coaching them to deal with it almost from like a stoic point of view, and just use helicopter really. That's a really nice way to coming out of it, looking at it from a bigger perspective.
Yeah, and what do you think, or I say, where do you think like the coffee culture's going now with, you know, is it about doing just the basics really well, you know, when people try and maybe overcomplicate menus or coffee, you know, that sort of thing. What does that look like? Do you think that the industry is moving it? Because I asked the question because even walking down here today, I must have walked past at least 5 or 6 retail or hospitality spots, whether it's food or drink, brunch, whatever, that are just boarded up. So I suppose it's two-ended. It's like, where do you think the industry's going? Do you think it's still got a place? Do you think something radical needs to change in terms of that customer experience? Does it need to be more, I don't know, more digital? Do people need to do things that are completely, you know, way off script to a classic, like, you know, you go in, you get a coffee, you have some brunch and you leave? Or does that exceptional service at a base level mean that you're always just going to, you know, get the right people coming back?
I think we'll see a split of those things. That sounds like a bit of a cop-out, but I think it's
yeah.
really going to depend on location, because we've got people like Blank Street Coffee who are really, really leading the way in terms of like automation, getting a certain product at a certain quality much, much faster.
Yeah.
That's maybe where that sort of like digital experience is going. And they're going to be people that really suits if they're in a hurry, or that's just who they are. But interestingly enough, when whoever they is, have done research on how people are spending their money these days, people see their daily coffee as
it's like a spiritual...
No, they see it as a necessity.
Yeah.
They see it like that's not part of something they can cut back on.
Yeah.
They might cut back on fine dining. They might cut back on...
That's so true, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the last thing you think about cutting back on.
People are unwilling to lose that £3.50 to £4 cup of coffee every day. So we're fortunate in that we're not currently being hit by that cost of living crisis so much. And I think there'll be a split. There'll be the people that still want to have that human interaction, still want to go in and receive that kind of customer service. It's going to depend on location as well, because if you're going to have like high street London location, you're going to need to move volume. You're going to have to. So automation, digital ordering, that kind of thing is going to be your best friend.
Yeah, love it.
But the kind of places where we have cafes, you know, 2 of mine are in Warwickshire. Generally people are a little bit more affluent over there, and generally they have a bit more time. You know, we're not next to a major train station or anything like that. They want to have that human interaction, and that's what they're really concerned with.
Super cool. Opening a coffee shop, so I've always had this epiphany with having, you know, like a small restaurant, something quite intimate, or that coffee experience, because I'm so involved in it and I love it myself so much. What would, you know, if you were to chat to the younger you or anybody else that wanted to step into this madness of an industry, what would you say, you know, apart from the obvious, like, you know, get your ducks in order and, you know, have a good idea of where you want to go and location's key, what are some of the things that you think people would need to think about in terms of wanting to open anything like this or step into the arena? Because obviously it's super competitive. And location's key, but what are some of the things that you'd probably recommend?
Well, there's 2 arms to this here. There's like as a business owner, and we should definitely go down that. But one in terms of like the business itself, something that I get a lot of is I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I want to open a coffee shop. Can I pick your brain?" And these people have never worked in the industry before, and I think it's really, really important to get that experience. Or if not, hire somebody who has it. That's the thing, is you're either going to be an owner-operator, in which case you need to have some experience in the industry, or, you know what, I'm actually going to be step back, and therefore I know I need that. That's going to be my key hire, that ops manager that knows what they're doing. And it's not sexy, and it's not something people want to hear, but you need to know your margins. You need to. The amount of... So I do some, like, small business consulting, and honestly, everybody, if I ask them how much does that cup of coffee cost you to make, they don't know.
Don't know.
And it's like, well, how do you know if you're making any money on it? And they're like, oh, well, you know, everybody else charges about that much. I'm like, but what if everyone else is getting it wrong?
Yep.
And what if you're not buying milk at the same price that they are? What if you've got a worse deal off the coffee roaster? Like, so, and you know, to the point where we now run kitchens where the chefs are weighing the food that goes onto the plate. Which is not something that chefs ever want to do. It's not. Wow. It's not sexy. They're super creative people. They want to use like really fresh seasonal produce. They want to use like wild herbs that people have never heard of, and that's absolutely fine. But you got to make your margin on it.
Wow.
You got to. And then it's like the conversation of if people don't want to pay for it, that's fine, because you know in your heart of hearts you couldn't have sold it any cheaper.
Yeah.
Then that's the thing. Like we actually get, if you look at the reviews on the website for us, one of the main issues people have, they're like, yeah, it's great, it's really nice, people really friendly, it's expensive. And I'm just a bit like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
That is what it costs to serve what we're serving at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, know your margins, and don't try and do everything yourself.
Oh my God.
One more point about like going into the industry, and that is looking after yourself, because I have been through phases where I haven't looked after myself and therefore been an absolutely terrible business owner. And it's little things like when you're opening, and it's cool actually because I think we're going to get a guy on the podcast in the next few weeks who's called Andy, and he's opening a restaurant, Andy Low and Slow. And he's great because he's opening a restaurant and he's still managing to prioritise himself. He's still training, he's still looking after his diet. And I was like, what the fuck? Because I've opened 3 cafes and the first thing to go is my diet. I'm eating
Your
shit.
lifestyle just goes to,
And I'm not exercising. And you want to talk about energy levels, you know, you've got to look after yourself.
Do you mind, mate?
Sorry.
You will. You're looking after yourself.
Oh, your battery's about to die here.
Let's just, should we finish off with, so talking about obviously goals, running a business, this whole like matrix of, you know, succeeding or whatever you want to call it. You have embarked on, I don't want to say new because it's been a little while, but it's still fairly new.
Yeah.
Your own journey around health, fitness racing. So High Rocks, Madrid. Talk me through this. What's going on?
So that was part of the wellbeing mental health thing.
Love it, yeah.
Because you have to have something in your life that isn't your business.
Yeah, agree.
I have lived it where it has consumed me, and it's all I've been able to talk about, it's all I've been able to think about. And that's when I talk about being at my lowest point. I talk about like either not sleeping, or when I have been sleeping, waking up in the night having panic attacks and crying. God. Because that's all my mind has.
Yeah,
so as soon as you start training and you realise, for me it was training, could be anything, could be knitting, could be reading, like whatever the thing is. But for me it was training and focusing really hard on something else, and that's why it had to be an event to work towards. That's why it had to be a thing, because it was like, it would be so easy to be like, oh, I'm tired, I can't be asked to go for a run.
It's something
today.
to chase, right? Like,
So now it's like, okay, I did the High Rocks doubles with my sister.
Amazing.
And that didn't go so well.
It did, come on.
I mean,
the first one.
Well, this is it. So I realised now in hindsight that actually having only trained in that way, that kind of endurance and getting fitter for 6 months prior, I think I actually did all right.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
But now it's like I set myself this goal of hitting a certain time by myself, and you could say it's too much pressure. Ian definitely thinks it's too much pressure. He thinks that I should like chill and just do your best.
I'm waiting for you to sign up to one.
It's not about the pressure. For me, it's about you want to go and do like 30-minute.
No, I don't.
No, but no. I'm not doing.
I mean, I'll say it out loud. So me and my sister did it in 1 hour 21, and I want to beat that time by myself. So really, all I've got to do is 1 hour 20:59. You know, like, and they have changed the rules. They have added some more wall balls.
Some extra, just standard like extra 35 wall balls or whatever it is.
But yeah, that was me chasing having something else in my life and forcing me to prioritise something else, because when there is so much to do and you've always got this ever growing to-do list of things to do and other priorities, actually having the balls to say, no, I need to go to the gym for 2 hours, or no, I need to go for a run, and having that time. And then that encourages me to eat better, and it encourages me to sleep better, and they're all just interlinked.
Amazing.
And that's funny actually, because we're going to record a podcast as well where I start asking, because Matt's experienced at High Rocks and Matt is an endurance athlete.
Yeah. Used to be. No joking.
So I'm going to ask him a whole bunch of questions, everything I want to know about going into High Rocks. So
Yep.
that's a nice little segue that is.
Let's
So
go.
thank you everyone for listening, and see you next time.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.